Here we go. All right, so we've had about every technical difficulty we could possibly have so far. Not to mention this whole screen thing.
Are we live right now?
Yeah, we are.
Oh my gosh.
So we got somebody watching here.
One person's watching.
All right, so usually we start with a little like intro video, countdown, whatever. Everything kept pausing and freezing, and I really hope it doesn't freeze again while we're on here. It possibly might. So my goodness, at least bear with us. There we go. All right. Well, anyway, if you're watching, welcome to the 𝗕𝗲 podcast. Originally, when we started this, my friend Tommy and I had started this, and we did a lot of stuff basically with fitness and other things like that. The brand 𝗕𝗲 that I created back in 2019, though, it's not really about fitness. It's about something that is much, much bigger than that. And it's more of kind of a mantra for how you live your life, as well as it kind of shapes like a mentality that I try to pursue life with and inspire other people to pursue life with. So when we were creating topics for July, I talked to my buddy. We decided we're going to do some stuff more with mindset. And since then, I've also met a lot of cool people. This guy, debatably, being one of them. Kidding. So what we're going to actually talk about today is embracing change. It's something that a lot of people shy away from, but I think in both of our experiences, especially for me in the last few years, last 10 months, and for him, 100% in the last couple months, is something that he's dealt with a lot. So I figured today, rather than talking about my stuff, I would lead some conversation with this guy who's become one of my best friends. And hopefully you guys get something out of this. Yeah. So without further ado, meet my friend Chad.
Hi, I'm Chad, 𝗕𝗲𝗖𝗲𝗡𝗥. I originally from like the Seattle, Washington area. I moved here back in May 2nd to North Carolina, y'all, and just flourishing, doing really well. I've kind of came here shaking and scared and just nervous, but quickly after I moved here, I met this gem of a human being and went to AA and just built a friendship. And I couldn't ask for a better human being to sit next to today, or just somebody that I spent a lot of time with. It's encouraging to have somebody that's so encouraging and such a blessing. And just for my life to really change in more positive ways, to be able to keep shedding positivity for other people. So.
All right. So since today's topic is about embracing change, how about we dive into, especially the last couple months for you and, some of the ways that embracing change has played a role in your life and some of the changes that you've had to make in the last couple months.
Okay. Yeah. Really had to embrace a lot of change. I moved here from California, end of April, early May. Very devastating situation that happened. And I found myself in a spot where I didn't want to keep continuing. I've battled with suicidal ideation, suicide attempts, been resuscitated back to life several times. I was at the end of my rope, literally, with the news that I created in the hotel. I was given a chance with my friend and roommate, and she had me come this way. And I either could have caved and not taken it on, or conquered my life and just thrived. And that's why I'm here today doing this, because it's the stuff that I went through was hell. I've been through a lot in life, but we all do. But I like to share it and to help promote other people to feel encouraged. And, not everybody's outspoken like me or Robbie, but the fact is, it's like even past the comedy and the humor, it's showing a real story. And she has an amazing story, and me sharing mine is just the fact, I was devastated with the massive loss. I moved to North Carolina, just nervous, scared, not realizing who I was anymore. And within a short period of time, I met her, and I started to feel inspired again to work on myself. I mean, I've lost well over 20 pounds of body fat. I'm gaining my muscle back. Just life. It's inspiring to be around somebody who's so inspiring and such a beautiful human being on the inside and out to keep me keep me accountable for myself. But I also have to keep myself accountable for myself. Struggles with alcohol, drug addiction. I've lived quite the life, in and out of jail several times, suicide hospitals, stuff like that. And I just didn't want to go back down that road. It wasn't worth it. So, when she had reached out to me about going to an AA meeting, things like that, it was just like, okay, this is a start. And within time, it just started to really progress. It's like anything with working out. You don't just walk into the gym one day, work out a half an hour, and you look amazing. You have to put a lot of work into it. And I've been putting a lot of work into myself and becoming a better version of myself. But you can't just do it alone. You need that accountability group, the friends, the family, or friends that are more like family than your own. We all live different lives, but I needed to keep moving forward and to keep, just kind of breaking that stigma that I've always placed upon myself, where I just felt like I only deserved darkness, when really, like behind me, I want to blossom. Oh, there is the light. I want to shine, baby. And and that's just what I'm going to keep, doing. And I'm just really, really happy with my life right now. So, and I'm with good company.
And okay, company.
Oh, hush.
Don't want to get too big of an ego.
Snapping turtles over here.
All right, so we'll get into kind of some of the talking points and talking points. I can't talk today. You can ask this guy. I think I've tried to say 10 different phrases today and messed them all up. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is stop letting change break you. And, I think this is a valuable point, because I think there are a lot of times where people will get to a different crossroads in their life. I remember I got to that point last year when I went through probably one of the biggest changes since I had become sober, and I knew that I was going to end up splitting up with my ex. I was getting out of the military, and then I had to either, follow the same path that pretty much every other officer that was in the military does. And usually it's like they get out, they get their MBA, they go into some project management or consulting or whatever. And that's kind of like the path that most people go. And I remember being 3 weeks out from my show, and I realized, my marriage was falling apart. It didn't really seem like it was going to be something that was going to last. And I remember finding myself thinking, what do I do? How do I get out of this? And I knew the thing that I knew was to get where I wanted to go, that there was going to be a lot of things that had to change. But the problem was I didn't know what that would look like.
Yeah.
So, there kind of came a point where I actually had debated, do I actually do this? Is this a step I actually take? Is this a conversation that we actually have, and if we can't try to fix it, do I leave?
Yeah.
Do I figure things out? So what are your thoughts? Because I know a lot of people, when changes happen, instead of really just flowing with life and, kind of how it just all will tend to play out if you learn to let go and just kind of let things happen. I think a lot of people, they try to fight change.
Yeah.
And then when changes do happen, or even changes are kind of just put on them unexpectedly, whether, it'd be a death, a relationship ending, a job ending, and not even just bad things, but could even be good changes too. I think a lot of people will kind of crack under those pressures. So, I mean, for you and your experience, where have been times where, you feel like you've fought change and you didn't want to let it happen, and it kind of just mentally messed with you?
A lot of times, to fight the change, especially when I got really bad with my suicide attempts years ago. I was just struggling so bad, and I always really, I enjoy living and I enjoy life. There's a lot to live for, but to battle that change of wanting to die, to end my life, several times in a 60-day period, being in a suicide hospital for 6 months, court ordered, I had to make a change, and I had to change in there. And I didn't want that change. I wanted to die, but eventually, it structured me to succeed and live. But you you kind of just go through those days where some days are great, some days are crud, and you just have to take it on day by day. You grew up with a father, it's a pastor or minister. My mom, pastor and minister. It's kind of like the old saying, like, let go, let God. To let God kind of take care of you, whether you're a person of faith or spiritual, or you just believe in something higher. And if you don't, that's fine. But as long as you believe in yourself to make that change and to make it positive, that's where you really start to really grow. And it just takes time, day by day. It's not easy. It's not easy to know what the future lies above in front of you. It's easy to get caught in the dark. You feel like you're in a tunnel looking for something, and it's just complete black. But eventually, if you just keep going day by day, you're going to start seeing that little speck of light, and you just keep moving forward and moving forward. And the next thing you know, as long as you're trying to improve and making that change, that light's going to get bright. And so will your attitude and your mindset on what you need to do to flourish.
So when, I guess dive in personally. So when have you had moments in your life where you did let change break you for a little bit?
Yeah.
You didn't know I was about to get this personal.
No.
My bad.
No, it's okay. I'm more than happy to speak about it. Where it did break me, the change.
Yeah.
It's like when, years ago, my family and I we parted ways, and that wasn't something that I wanted. They just couldn't handle my past and the way that I was, even if I wasn't using at the time, drinking or anything, but still being blamed for that stigma because it takes a long time to heal. And, I found myself homeless on the streets, sleeping on friends' floors, couches, trying to figure it out. But it broke me inside because, I love my family and I didn't want to disappoint them. And I didn't want to disappoint myself either, but I had to, as my mom said, you just need to lace up your bootstraps and you just need to move forward. And, you always want it to be like a week later, like, hey, I'm good now. Like, no, it takes a long freaking time, as you know, with getting sober, stuff like that. But eventually it happened. It took a long time because trust, was broken, but it had to be earned again. And I had to do what I needed to do for me. And whether they were watching me or just kind of, hearing like word of mouth that Chad's doing well, it eventually builds up. Whether they come back around or not, which they have, but if you're in that situation, as long as you're improving yourself day by day, that's the key factor. But it broke me inside because I adore my family and I never wanted to let them down. And who wants to be an addict? Nobody wants to wake up as a kid and be like, I want to be an alcoholic one day. Or, that Adderall seems pretty awesome. Maybe if I take 10 right now, like it's just not how it works. But I found myself in a really bad spot when things just started to happen, injuries, surgeries, stuff like that, where I was just like, I spiraled out of control most of my 20s. Now I'm living it up in my 30s. And life's good. It just takes time. And, things will, I don't really like the thing break. Because, we bend and we contort, but to fully be broken, that's kind of like, that's it. You're not shattered. You're bent in such a bad spot that you just feel like you can't get back to it. But you have to kind of do your own chiropractic ways and just get yourself back up on your feet and move forward.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And, we've talked about it a little bit too, but, I went through some family stuff too. And I'm kind of like in the midst. I actually reached out to my sister. I don't think I even told you about this, but I reached out to my oldest sister a couple days ago.
You did not tell me.
And, actually, I just apologize. So one of the things that I think I had the hardest time with is, and I think this goes along with change too. Like people think about change and they think about externals.
Yeah.
They don't always think about the change that you need to have internally or change that you need to have in your own mindset and, potential change in either perspectives or perceptions or anything like that. Yeah. And so I always grew up and even though like now that I think back about it, I don't think I ever really voiced it as a kid, but I did always have this desire to have like a super, super close family. I wanted to be really close with my siblings, I was a huge daddy's girl and all this other stuff. And when I had some events happened in my family, and there were just some things that had came out. I didn't know how to handle it. You know, I had this expectation of how they would respond, and I had this expectation of how they should respond. And when they didn't, you know, that broke me.
Yeah.
So like we've talked about how, you know, I had a suicide attempt in 2019, and fortunately for me, my ex was there and kind of like in the midst of it, kind of intervened. But what led to it, you know, now that I think about it, and I think a little bit more like growth and maturity is kind of evolved. You know, it wasn't the event that caused my attempt.
Mm-hmm.
It was my mindset and my inability to let go of my expectations of other people.
Yeah.
And so that was literally like, could have been a breaking, not just like a breaking point, but an actual like death point, like an end point.
That's it. Like it's completely done and severed. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one of the things that, you know, I want to talk about embracing change, like not just talk about, you know, the external environments and things like that, but, you know, there are also sometimes too where internally your mindset, your mentality, your expectations of other people, your perceptions of other people, like those things have had to change.
Yeah.
And I know for me, since then, I've gotten to a point where, and you know this, you know how this goes too, like with sobriety, you have to do a lot of internal work with these things that have really ticked you off.
Yeah. And
made you super, super resentful and whatnot. And you have to, you know, identify, because you can't control other people as much as we want to at times. I think everybody wants to control a situation. You know, it talks about being the director, and the more you try to direct, and then you're just mad because everybody's not doing what they're supposed to do the way that you're wanting them to do it.
It's true.
But for me, when I hit that breaking point, I didn't realize it was going to take years. Because I went through years of therapy. And I mean, it wasn't until over a year later that I ended up getting sober and doing the sobriety thing. So I mean, it took years of therapy and going through like a sobriety program where, you know, I realized that it was my perceptions and my expectations, and it was me that needed to change.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't these other people. I couldn't expect them to do things a certain way just because I would.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you know, it's not fair. So I mean, what do you think about that as far as being able to not just change like externals and work on externals, but truly working on yourself and trying to adopt like a different mindset and a different way that you view people and just the world in general?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as she's speaking, you know, it's like we can work on our external appearance and seem fine, but the most important things are your mental, your emotions, you know, because I mean, on the outside you can look pristine, but on the inside you're just rotting away, and you're allowing yourself subconsciously to just deteriorate, and it's tough, and eventually you break down. You know, I think of Robin Williams, which, you know, was a common thing to be told last week, but you know, he seemed fine on the outside, always joked around, always made people laugh, but on the inside he was just so sad. You know, and then sadly, you know, we lost him several years ago. But you know, it's tough to work on those things on the inside, and you can't just do it alone. You can't just take a pill and think everything will be fine. I did the years of therapy and treatment, you know, and AA with you and everything like that. It helps each time. You know, I have my own therapist that I speak with every week, and that helps. You know, just kind of doing things that make you a little more driven to keep going, you know, finding things that you enjoy or finding new things, which is also part of change. Because a lot of us just kind of stick to the same routine structure, and I'm fine. But inside you're like, no, I should have went kayaking with them, but why am I like this? You know, the insecurities get to us, and we just don't always just work on the things on the inside as we should. And a lot of people don't really take that on unless you're somebody like yourself or myself, or, you know, the people that we've met that are similar in our ways, where, you know, if you didn't make the change to get sober, where would you be now? Dead, or locked up. It's just making that change for yourself, and looking at other people and wanting them to respond a certain way isn't always going to be the case, but it's how you see yourself and the value that you have within yourself to be able to really see it. It's kind of like when people take a photo of themselves every day for 1 year, and you look at the difference from the first to the end, but you see the changes, whether they're working on themselves or, it's different each day. A couple days ago, my hair looked different. I got a haircut, but that's the case. It was a change that I wanted to make, but it's just the fact, like, that's just external, but it made me feel better emotionally and mentally because I wanted that. But those are just little things in comparison to what we really need to work on. Finding your own books that you like to read that just kind of lock you in to help with certain situations. If you're going through stuff, there are people out there that are willing to talk to you. It's just the hard part is people are scared to share what they're going through because they don't want people to know that they're battling this or battling that or feeling a certain way. So, you have to make that change and just kind of break free from your own mindset in that negative spot.
So you actually said that, and that works out perfectly because that's kind of our, I know, right? That's kind of our second talking point. And it's why is change so scary? Why do you feel like if there was a point where you struggled to get into a place where you could truly work on yourself? Like, did you have a time that you can remember where you're actually fighting that? And maybe even if at the time you didn't realize that, like, you were scared of it, but now if, like, you look back in hindsight, because it's always 2020, that you look back and you're like, oh man, like, I can see where I was scared to death.
There's many times. I always battled anxiety, nerves, everything. Like, I had a hard time talking to people in school. I could make people laugh. I could be on the stage, either singing, playing the drums, acting, fine. But it was just because it was my own little realm. But it was not easy to get through anxiety. I still deal with anxiety. My armpits are sweating right now. It's just the fact. It's like, I didn't know how to deal with it, the emotions of being scared. And a lot of people don't, and it's scary is exactly that, scary. But, you have to look in the mirror, and it's you versus you. Sometimes we look in the mirror and we don't see the exact image that everybody else sees. We see that darker side. We see it's kind of like the writing all over the person's face, like, sad, depressed, fat, this. Like, we look at our own perception in a negative way, and that becomes scary because you feel like everybody else is going to see you that way when people could think you're the gem of the world. But change is scary, but it's scary sometimes really awesome. She flew helicopters in the military. That's dope. I look out the second story balcony and look down, and I finally kind of feel a little more safe. I have a fear of heights. That's why I'm not that tall. And but no, it's just the fact change is scary, but that's the case. That's how you grow. When I started wrestling many years ago in training, I was nervous because I didn't want people to think I sucked. I wanted people to like me, but my own anxiety, my own fear got to me, and it hindered it for a time. And then I started doing it again, and I started excelling. But it was just like with anything else, like you put it out there and you put yourself out there, and eventually, you're either going to blossom or it's just not for you. But you'll always find something else. But I don't like being scared about stuff. And I think that's like anybody. It's like a kid who needs a nightlight. There's still like adults that have like a teddy bear to sleep because they're just nervous to be by themselves. So it's like,
I still sleep with a teddy bear.
You also have
It's a koala bear.
Koalas are amazing.
It's like literally like this big. Like, you can't even see it in the screen. So take this and stack it about 4 times. And I was actually sleeping with it last night. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
With the light on.
Well, we hope you had a good time. Let's kidding. But that's everybody's different. But if you find things at least help you cope through that scary time, then it becomes less fearful. And it's like people say, like, fear is just a 4-letter word. My mom always said, for fear, it's a false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
So
That's good. I think I've heard that like one other time before, and I actually forgot about it until you said that. But yeah, I think a lot of it too is with change being so scary. I think the unknown.
Yeah.
Like the unknown is a very, very mysterious thing. It
Yeah.
presents a lot of questions, and they're questions that you don't have the answers to. And I think, especially in our society, we are very control driven. Like we want to have everything figured out. We want to know exactly what's going on. And
it's like, my roommate and friend Monique, she calls us the microwave generation. Everybody wants stuff right now.
mm-hmm.
They want it done. They want it quick. They want it perfect every time. And it doesn't always work that way. I mean, think about a Hot Pocket, cold on the outside, burning hot on the in. It's just like, not everything's gonna be perfect. So.
Yeah. And I remember going through that because I had a lot of fears. So like my mom, she's a very strong woman. She has a lot of things in her past that has definitely made her into the woman that she is. And I respect her a ton for it. But one of the things that she took pride in for my sisters and I'm glad that she did this because honestly, I think it wasn't an easy decision to, leave my marriage last fall. But I think I would have definitely struggled a lot more going ahead and making that decision had my mom not raised me the way that she did. Because she always taught us, I think even though that we are women, we should never need a man in order to survive. And that was something that she really kind of like beat into our heads. Not literally. Mom was not abusive, but it was something that she really like drilled just through her actions, how she conducted herself. And then even like when we would start dating, like the ways that she would go about treating like who we were dating. And, for a lot of people on the outside looking in, they would just kind of look at her as like a man hater. And I was like, no, it's not that. It's just she went through some stuff and saw that like if you get yourself in a position where you're not in a place to take care of yourself, if you're with the wrong person and you have that mindset, like things can escalate very, very rapidly and become a very dangerous and hard situation.
Yeah.
And I think that was something that she had to go through that she was terrified of having her daughters go through.
Yeah, of course.
And so with the situation I was in, I mean, not like that at all. So that was like one of the things was like my ex-husband and I, like we didn't work out just because after I got sober and things started changing, it was just like we got into two different places, wanted two very different things, and there was no way that we were going to be able to really make those things work as a couple. Yeah. And like sometimes that just happens. But I do remember because I was getting out of the military and I had a plan. I was starting my own coaching business. I was going to work out of Bull and Bear Gym, had worked out something with the owner. And he was kind of like the backup plan because we knew getting out of the military, like I had some money for medical retirement. It would cover like some base bills, but that was about it. Not a whole lot more. And we knew it was going to take time for me to build my business up. But he went the route. He had a project management job, just got a new job, was doing like the consulting thing, which that was his dream. It was like one of the things that he really wanted to do. So he was like that financial protection just in case I fell on my butt. Yeah. And I quickly realized that like, shit, if I walk out of this, not only like, am I walking out of no longer going to have a home. Yeah. I'm no longer going to have financial security. I'm going to be rebuilding all of this stuff and I don't know how I'm going to make it work. Yeah. And so I had to change my game plan. But I mean, there was definitely a couple seconds in there where I thought about it and it was just like, man, I don't want to leave this situation because it scares the hell out of me. I don't know what I'm going to do. Definitely. But because my mom raised me the way that she did, I started thinking those thoughts and I was like, no, like this is stupid. Like my mom raised me better than this. I know that I can do this. It probably won't be easy. It's probably going to suck for a little bit, which it did. But like,
scary.
It's this little butt pucker factor. I was walking around and people probably thought I had some weird fetish thing going on. And really I was just scared all the time. And instead of tensing up my shoulders, I was just, puckering the butthole and lying around the whole time.
Practicing a new bodybuilding routine.
Just working on some new poses. That just
are these lights getting brighter?
But no, like on the serious note, I had to be willing to completely change my plan. Yeah. And so
Which is scary.
Yeah. So sold a house. I had to go into an apartment with 2 dogs that is really, really tiny for all 3 of us. And then I also realized, I had to be real with myself and be like, with all these changes going on, with a broken relationship, getting out of the military, which is super weird on its own.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fine because like I'd never deployed, and I always felt like it was more weird for people that were in longer and like had multiple deployments. No, it's still weird when you get out. It's like very, very bizarre. Just normal life mentality is very, very different. But, how to be willing to go to a new job, how to be willing to change, how I looked at money, how I leveraged money, how I leveraged time.
Yeah.
And then on top of that too, because I was still getting sober, I really didn't have a whole lot of friends starting out either.
Yeah.
And
you lose a lot of friendships and all that when you're drinking.
Yeah. And
either they cut you off, or when you get sober, you realize these people are just your bar buddies, and you have to cut them off. So.
And like, those are all things that are very hard too.
Yeah.
But like when you go through changes, very, very difficult. But like the cool thing now is like looking back, I'm so glad I did that, because the job that I actually went into that I have now, like I work at this gym called 𝗖𝗃 amazing bosses. I'm able to thrive there.
Yeah.
They're very like big on taking pride in letting, each trainer be themselves. A lot of corporate gyms try to kind of put you into a box.
I know.
And like, they don't do that. So it's like able to thrive there. I changed divisions that I was going to compete in. And I also had no idea how I was going to do it, because I was scared that I was going to need a shit ton of steroids and all that stuff to be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
Had I used that fear to stop me, I would have never realized that like I'm way more meant for physique and everything about it than I was in any of the other divisions. And then, like as I allowed myself, I still had that fear there. There's still days that I have fear there. And I don't think fear is a bad thing. I think it's healthy. But that's why I think it's not important to be fearless. I don't think that that is a reasonable expectation when it comes to change. I think what is more important is to be courageous despite having those fears in the first place.
Yeah, courageous is definitely the one there.
But that's what, I think that's kind of the thing that stops a lot of people, is just you have all of these unknowns. But I always like to try to beg the question now of, what if you do change? So your situation now, you're miserable, you don't like it, you want something more. You also know if you stay there, you're going to stay in that same way. So like, what if you take a leap? Maybe you fall on your butt a little bit. You probably will. It's kind of part of it. But then what if something greater than you possibly could have expected comes out of it?
Exactly.
You
got to give yourself a chance, to just excel, whether it's little things, big things, but just giving yourself a chance and pushing through that fear. Taking a chance moving here was a big risk. I was scared, very scared. But it was the best risk that I ever took. It was brave, as other people say. To go from either days away from taking my life in a hotel that I was stranded at in California, or blossoming in North Carolina, y'all.
Yeah.
Here I am.
And then getting flown to Florida, hanging out with people like Kai Green and all the craziness that's going on.
And it's like, in just a few short months, life is just like, I've been here for like 2.5 months. I've hung out with her for 2 months now. And it's just like, wow, just awesome. She is just so encouraging and such a blessing to whoever she meets. And I'm blessed, I can't say that enough, to know her and to talk to her daily, and our love for turtles and just the gym. But just a laugh, to have somebody you can just connect with on so many different levels, whether it's like a serious conversation, or talking about sobriety, or going to AA meetings, or just all these different things, music, fitness, Kai Green. It's just like when you find somebody that you can spend time with and talk to and relate to, who wants to see you build up while they're building up, and vice versa, it's just cool. But not everybody has somebody to have like that. but you need to be able to do that within yourself. And so, life can be scary, and there's going to be scary moments, but you can take it on.
Yeah. So in saying some of that, that actually kind of goes into our third final talking point before we do a Q&A. So tips for embracing change. And I actually think you're kind of onto something, whether you realize it or not.
I've been drifting out the whole time. Hi, where are we? I'm just kidding.
No, but I think you're onto something with that, though. When you were talking about being around people.
Yeah.
I know for me, one of the things that's been the biggest game changer is being willing to temporarily, like I said, when I did the whole sobriety thing, and some of the friends that I used to have, like I actually have back in my life now.
Yeah.
Some of them I don't, and the ones that don't, like they're just not meant to be here.
Yeah.
But I think one of my tips, at least for embracing change, is figure out what is the person, like who's the person you want to be, what are you trying to accomplish, what is the mindset you need to have it, and then surrounding yourself with people that either have the same mindset or they are working toward having that same goal.
So tips for embracing change. I mean, I like what you said, though, having that support system, meeting new people, to make that change, not just within yourself, but you might be a change for them. You have no idea. You might say something to them and you're feeling discouraged, but you might not realize that they're discouraged. You might make their day as well. You change lives. Whoever's watching this right now, whatever day, week, month down the road, who's ever watching this, like you're probably a big factor in somebody's life. Somebody woke up today and probably thought about you and was kind of hoping they'd hear from you. But I mean, it's just embracing change. Like I'm from Washington State, where it's just rain and it's cold. And I was in California for a moment where it's dry heat. Now I'm in North Carolina where it's warm and humid. And we have flood warnings that last for about an hour. It'll be sunny outside, then it flashes rain. And it's just like, what the hell's going on?
Well, at least they say, though, like with the North Carolina, like here, it's like if you hate the weather, just give it 10 minutes.
It's hard 5, still, nonetheless. But I mean, it was a scary change, but I embraced it, and I am embracing it daily. And it's just, I have my times. Yesterday was tough for me. The day before, mentally, it was tough. I had to process some things, but now I feel awesome because it was just like, when you finally get closure in something that really affected you, and you finally get a response, and you finally just you feel free, and you finally just can smile again, not just with your mouth, but with your eyes, and just how you live your life. It's a change that we all seek for ourselves, and we seek for other people. And that kind of change is what I needed, and I'm just happy. I'm finally happy. And I'm just happier because I have people like her in my life who want to see me thrive, who want to see me excel in the things, because I doubt myself all the time. And I'm working on that change to not doubt myself so much. I have a lot of talents. I'm sure all of you do as well. But when you have somebody who uplifts you and encourages you to hone in on what you can do and what you bring to the table and your own value. We all have value. And I hope you know that. And to embrace change within yourself is a beautiful thing. And I hope that you can find that. I hope that you can look in the reflection of the mirror, window, wherever you're looking at, and you can see there's a big change for you if you're willing to take it, and you're a beautiful human being. So just, get past that fear and just work on yourself, work on a relationship with yourself, and just really know that you're worth it.
So what are, before I give kind of a few tips of my own and then we go on to the Q&A, what are some other, are there any things that you do right now or things that you've started doing that really help you embrace change? Like if you have these doubts, are there any things that you've learned to do to counteract those? Or You know, when you start to feel kind of that fear and stuff starting to bubble up, and you know, those thoughts that are like, this is probably a bad idea or whatnot. Like, do you have anything in place or any processes in place that you go through to help?
What I do here, because the weather here is so much more beautiful and vibrant than Washington. You know, a lot of rainy days, gloomy outside. You don't really want to be out there. I find myself, you know, at times thinking in a certain way, and I put my Bluetooth headphones in, I listen to music, and I go for a walk. Even if it's hot as hell outside, I'll find shade. But it's just the fact, it's like just finding things. And as I'm on that walk, maybe thinking about something I want to make, such as curry. But it's just,
I don't know why you're just saying that.
She doesn't eat curry. She's never. Once, not never.
Not once.
And
never
ever.
The
balloon hands over here. But no, it's just finding little things. I will read my Sober Time app. I will read my Bible app. I will, you know, I have my Alcoholics Anonymous book now. I skim through that. I have a lot of things that I just start to kind of tap into. I like to clean, so I will clean. She knows that. But it's just finding things that keep me from self-destructing and just laying there. Because I've spent too much time having to lay on a bed, locked in a room, waiting for medication. I have freedom now, and I just want to keep doing what I need to do. You know, just finding little things each day. Multiple things, even if it's just going outside. Sometimes, like, I'll just stand on the back deck back here and I'll see like somebody I know, one of the neighbors, wave at them, they wave back, talk. That's all it took. 2 minutes of talking to somebody. I'm like, I feel great, blah, 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 blah. You know, and that's it. So just making little changes, trying to find just extra little things as opposed to just keeping yourself in the dark.
Yep. So. No, I would agree with those. I think going on walks and stuff are completely underrated. I know another thing for me too, which when we filmed the video, or one of the videos that we did, I knew, like, we kind of showed me doing that a little bit, but what I went through a lot, especially from like January to March, where I feel like I did probably the most of my emotional processing for like everything that had happened like in the months previous. I actually started listening for once, which, if you don't know me, I'm kind of stubborn. I'm a little bit hard-headed. Slightly, just a wee bit.
Yeah.
But no, I actually started listening to some of the stuff that they would have me do in like therapy and things like that.
Yeah.
And so I would start writing affirmations on the wall.
Yeah.
And I did it for a lot of things. When I started doubting, or, you know, I talked about on my Instagram a little bit how I started, especially as I kind of got back into my own faith and spiritual relationship with God. I started watching sermons by Mike Todd and Transformation Church. And one of the biggest ones that helped me was this sermon series called Here is Holy. And he talks about in there how everybody will focus on basically the future and where you want to be. But the problem is you're so focused on there. It's like, that's not even guaranteed if you can't do the things that you need to do while you're here.
It's true.
And so I know that was one of the things, because I went through some spots where I was like, man, I'm 30 years old. What am I doing with my life? Here I am in this little tiny apartment. I don't really have anything like in my name at this point. I feel like I'm starting from scratch. Like, I feel like I should be further. And I started watching this sermon, and, you know, I listened to him say, like, you know, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, and you will get where you're supposed to go only if you can actually sit in the moment, you know, ask yourself, ask God, what am I supposed to learn from this?
Yeah.
Like, what am I supposed to be doing here to build for whatever is supposed to come? And actually start focusing in on those, the things that you do have and the things that you can do.
Yeah.
So I think between either me, like, writing down affirmations, even if I didn't believe them yet, and having them just posted everywhere. Because like I said, at that point too, I still didn't have really a whole lot of friends either. So posting those everywhere, or actually like taking that lesson that I learned from that sermon, taking it to heart, and, you know, doing the things that I did. So I would go to work and I would try to do well, you know, go to the gym, work on posing.
Yeah.
And I mean, even from a few months ago to now, my abilities have changed so much.
Even in the short time that I've known you, you've excelled in her craft. And it's beautiful. Sorry, not to interrupt. It was like, it's beautiful to watch 2 months ago from the first video and just where she's at now with her own videos and stuff. But it's just like the passion, and you just feel it. And you're like, wow. So to be able to create something with her in such a way where it's different, and that's the nice thing, is it's different, and that's what helps people kind of stand out. She, as I've said, is a prodigy. She's self-taught, and I'm proud of her. She's awesome, because I don't want to swear. My mom is probably watching. Hi, Mom.
But no, like the point being was, if I was so focused, so I think sometimes focusing on where, it's good to know where you want to go.
Yeah.
But had I focused so hard on where I wanted to go, I think I would have overwhelmed myself, and the task would have seemed daunting. And it would have been like, how am I going to be able to do that? I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. I don't have any background in this, anything like that. Yeah. But instead, I started working with the basics. Not completely self-taught. I had like my friend Jacob that you met in Florida this weekend. Yeah. He was phenomenal and stuff. Yeah. But like he's helped me a lot too with like the technique and how to hit certain things and stuff like that. But I just decided to take it in baby steps, baby chunks, and not think so much about
baby chunks.
Think not so
from
much
Campbell's.
About, oh gosh. What was I saying? But yeah, not thinking so much about where I wanted to go, but thinking about, well, this is where I'm at, and like, what can I do today to get just a little bit better, and then let that interest compound over time. And so I know for me, that was kind of some of the things that I've done like the last couple months, and then just obviously continuing to work on myself and try to actually identify, look at situations that's happened in my life or happening in my life, and I'm like, am I actually handling this in the best way possible? Aside from like what these other people did, I can't control that, or what they didn't do, I can't control that. It doesn't matter. Like, where's my part in this, and what can I do better? And I feel like those things have helped me immensely.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got, I guess, a Q&A. I don't know if we have any questions. We've got comments.
We have a few people watching.
Comments.
So
what's the comments? We've got a few. Anxiety is scary. Yeah, it is. And Tommy is laughing. So we're basically in the Q&A portion. I'll give it just a few minutes. If you guys want to type in the comments.
It's okay.
If you want to type in the comments, basically if you have any questions, if you have any questions for him, if you have any questions for me.
Some of the conversation.
I like how we're both just like, ugh.
Oh, it's hard because she has her screen lighting so dark as I'm trying to talk to you all about being light. This thing is not light. I'm like, Mr. Magoo, Chad and Robbie, what were some of the conversations, Robbie, and you had that helped you stay on track? Obviously we had talked about in the beginning, just like our life as far as like sobriety. Just kind of the stuff we went through. Like it was kind of an instant connection because we had so many similarities with the PTSD, or maybe not so much that, but the demons and of just the suicidal thoughts, the negativity, the going through the hell from relationships ending, and just having our parents having similar backgrounds as far as what they have with faith, and just kind of like excelling and then crashing and then just kind of like whoop. And that's just kind of like that, we to stay on track. I think it's not even so much just like conversations like this, because we do have serious conversations, but we joke around a lot too. And there's nothing better for me than making her laugh, because she laughs a lot. So, but it's good though. Sense of humor is key, in having just kind of a well-rounded friendship and communication, to where you can just kind of talk about anything, listen to anything, even just sitting in silence, which is hard because I'm not usually that quiet. But
Nope.
But it's because I enjoy my time with her and what we share, because it's always different. Even just a few days ago after AA, we had ice cream. We were just talking about just random stuff. I wouldn't have changed that moment in my life, because it was just that cool. The moon was out, ice cream was delicious, and I just was happy. So what? Where do you get them?
Yeah, no, I think Yeah, it's like you said, we've had a lot of good conversations, but I do think trying to gain a sense of humor is huge. It's been huge for me. And I think sometimes people can take it as, I don't want to say like self-degrading or something, but my whole thing is like
self-deprecating.
Yeah, it's my whole thing is like if I'm going through a situation, like the best way that I can get through it, at least for me, is to handle it with some humor.
Yeah.
So like I'll make fun of my apartment and stuff like that and call it basically this like human doghouse and all this other stuff. But it's actually been great because it's small enough to where like I don't want to be in there forever. So it forces me to get out and go do stuff and see people, which is actually part of the reason why I got it, because I knew I was going to go through stuff and I was going to start isolating.
Yeah.
Unless I got myself feeling so uncomfortable that that I just like, I don't know, I felt like I was stuck in a freaking bubble.
Yeah. But it's the best to be able to kind of put yourself maybe not in a completely comfortable situation, so it makes yourself get out. So Chad, how did you break the stigma of people seeing you as the old person? Was there a time where they said they missed the old you? Oh yeah. I've to break the stigma, I just had to keep living my life, but the way that I needed it to, not for what they wanted, even though what I started conducting was the life that they wanted me to have. But even though those people weren't in my life anymore for the most part, until they maybe bumped into me down the road. But see, was there a time? Oh yeah, as far as like missing the old me, people like I miss the happy Chad, the joking around, the guy that always like, would just stand out in a crowd and make everybody laugh. Because there was times where I was just so depressed, and I went to the bars either with one friend or by myself every day, drinking, just wanting to be by myself. But eventually I found myself, and it wasn't because of the alcohol that made me like lighten up, but you find a way to kind of feel comfortable. And I always seemed to find myself making other people laugh and people enjoying my time. And not that it was the healthiest, but it was just, it got me out. But to get sober and to be where I'm at now, I highly doubt anybody's like, Chad, I miss the old you, the drunk you. I miss the guy that, really, really put on a shit show for the whole crowd. I don't. Who wants to miss that version? I don't miss the old me of, I would drink anywhere from 24 to 30 plus beers in like 4 hours and then go to bed and wake up, go work out, life, work, this. And then by 6 p.m. when Big Bang Theory came on for their marathon, I would drink again every day. And it wasn't, it's funny, but at the same time, it wasn't funny. I was throwing up blood, everything else. Like my body's like, we're going down. And I'm like, whatever. So to get past that, I'm just glad that I'm not that person anymore. I'm glad that I broke that stigma that I thought I could never break, because I honestly felt the numerous times that I relapsed that I'm never going to get this figured out. And life, for over a year now has been pretty cool with sobriety and just seeing my family being proud of me, really proud of me, and meeting new people who are just kind of like interested in tuning in to what I do with my social media stuff, with my poetry and photography. It's just like life is coming along. So that's a lot of beer. That was a lot of pee too. It just right on out of there.
Hydrated. Well, hydrated, right?
Oh God, no.
So we've got, let's see, Robbie, how'd you learn to let go of relationships you wanted with people but they couldn't give?
How do you learn to let go of relationships you wanted with people that they couldn't give? Oh.
Yeah, so as far as like the relationship thing part, honestly, that just kind of came down to a decision. I think when you really finally get to a point where you're super serious about seeing change in your life, that the only way, like you come to this realization that that the only way that you're going to make it happen is, again, to like put yourself in an environment that is going to be conducive to that. And so it was the same thing. Like when I got sober, I had a really good buddy, didn't really understand it. He didn't think that I was an alcoholic, especially being a bodybuilder and having that much discipline. He's like, I don't understand how you can have that much discipline and actually be an alcoholic. And yeah. And so, I mean, we would go back and forth about it. And it finally got to a point where I knew that if I kept drinking, because I knew I was one of those people that, like, I wasn't a daily drinker, but when I started, I couldn't stop. Like, I talked to my mom about this the other day, and like, that was the thing for me. It was like, once I started drinking, people were constantly like, well, if you just learn to moderate, what? Like, yeah. I try and oops, like, couldn't do it. So that was kind of the moment where I knew that, like, when I read that, when I was in rehab, I was like, oh shoot, like, all right, I'm going down a bad path that a lot of people in my family went, and I don't want that. So for that, you know, I just had to come to terms with the fact that, you know, if I want something better for myself, I just have to step away. And he's actually one of my friends that, you know, we've reconciled. He'll give me a shit a little bit here and there, but like, if he knows that I'm having like a rough day, like, he finally understands. And then just in how much I've changed since we first met to now. I think the last time we hung out with a couple that he's friends with, and you know, we were like goofing around a little bit, like goofing around about it, and they were like all drinking and stuff and kind of laughing about, you know, like, and asked me about sobriety and stuff like that. And like, they weren't like crazy with it or anything like that. They were just doing like the normal drinking thing where they just have a few and are just having a good night. But he finally, like, after he gave me some crap, he was like, in all seriousness though, he was like, you know, you were right. Like, I like this version of you much better. Like, yeah. It is much more fun. And not every relationship you let go of is going to turn out like that. So that's the thing, is I feel like everybody has the potential to be great. I feel like everybody has the potential to change, but I don't think everyone is willing to do it. And just not everyone is going to get into a point in their life where they hit that willingness. And so you have to understand that, and there's no point in being mad at those people. It's just realizing that they are people and they're in a different spot in their life. And the spot that they get to by the end of their life might not be the same spot that you're going to. But if you're constantly expending energy trying to pull them up when they are just trying to pull you back, you just have to learn to let them go. Yeah. And it does. It sucks. It's not fun. It was even the same thing with my previous marriage. I mean, him and I we're solid now as far as like friends. You know, he's got his life, I've got mine. We're excited for each other. We still work with each other with like 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗃, like apparel stuff. But you know, like, we even admitted too, like, we're able to get to a point where the things that he wanted and needed in life for him to grow into the person he needed to be, I wasn't going to be able to give him. And the places that I was wanting to go and where I was needing to go, you know, he wasn't in a place either that was going to be conducive to helping me get there. And it's like I said, I think it's, for me, what I had to do was just realize that, like, that's just the fact of it, and be okay with the fact that it's hard. And you can even be okay. It's not like you have to walk away from people and be like, oh, like, I'm better than you, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, it's gonna suck. Like, those people were in your life for a period. Yeah. And if you've made some sort of relationship with them, you know, anytime you let go of a relationship, whether it's intimate or family or friendship, you know, I've had to let go of all of those things at some point for at least a little bit. It hurts. It really, really sucks. And being okay with the fact, realizing that that discomfort is okay, but eventually what is on the other side, like, I think it's just where faith comes in. Like, you have to know, you have to believe that what you were doing, like, it will make sense later. You have to accept that things aren't always going to make sense now. Things aren't always going to feel great now. But like, if you truly have like a vision and purpose that you know is what you're supposed to do, and you are taking steps to get there, that at some point you are going to get a point and you're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh, this makes sense. And I think when that solidifies is when you get to that first point. Like, I've had a few times in the last couple months where I've went through that. And once you have it happen a few times, it no longer becomes faith, because now you've got evidence to see that that's actually the case. And so it makes it that much easier to be like, when you have to go through that process all over again, which inevitably you will, again, you just have to be like, all right, I've been here before. I've been through this before. This is going to suck. I have to let some things go. I really don't want to, but I know it's for the best. And I know through experience now that when I get to a certain point, I'm going to look back and I'm going to realize, okay, like this was the right thing to do. And like this worked out.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, sometimes too, like sometimes people that you have to initially let go, like sometimes they will end up coming back in your life later. It's just, you weren't good for each other at that point where you were at. Sometimes people need to grow a little bit apart separately, and then they can come back together in a much better spot and have a much healthier ability to push each other in the right direction. So that is a very long answer for that question.
It's good.
And you thought you were a talker.
It was thorough.
You thought you were a talker. I feel like it's typing. I see two dots.
It's the two dots have just been there for a bit.
Okay.
Oh. Yeah. Maybe it's typing now. All right. Let's give you just like one more question.
A few more.
I don't know.
Another minute. Any more questions? Any last ones? Tommy, you got anything else for us? You got any other questions? Bueller. Bueller.
Oh my God. Gene, Lynn. Oh my God.
All right. Well,
we appreciate everybody tuning in and just listening. I had a really good time.
Yeah.
So it's good. It's good to share, and just know that it's good to share with people. Yeah,
definitely don't keep the lessons and the things that you've been through, good or bad, to yourself. Yeah. You know, I think also the ability not to just share the good, but to also share the tough lessons and the tough things, like that is what's going to truly connect with people. Oh shoot, I got another comment.
We did say one more. Naha, thank you.
Thank you both so much. All right. But yeah.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
This was good. So welcome to an episode. The 𝗘𝗲𝗃 podcast.
Yes.
More focus on mindset, mentality, and embracing change. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Chad. And this concludes our broadcast day.
All right. See you guys.